All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us both in person and remotely. This is the voice coming out to you is Sahara Subal. I work with the North Central Accountable Community of Health, and I'm really excited to get to share this opportunity with you today. This is an interesting meeting for us in that we are hosting this via webinar across a few different locations, as well as having folks chime in from across the region. I have the digital sign-in sheet up right now, and it's really exciting to watch it be populated. We have folks calling in right now from Leavenworth and Moses Lake and Richland and Tonasket and Ellensburg and Graham and Great Coulee, and it just keeps going. So we're really excited that this has made it, this opportunity has made it so far in our region. We're really excited to get to share it with you today. We do have a sister site in Omak that will be joining us, as well as our site here in East Wenatchee. I want to extend gratitude to WorkSource, based here in East Wenatchee, for hosting us today. If you see Toby around, please give him a huge thank you. As well as if you are up in Omak, please do extend your gratitude to the folks at Okanagan Behavioral Health Care. All right, and I have a lot of folks chiming in or chatting in. I'm kind of a one-woman show right now, so I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on chat while running the webinar. I do have my colleague Tanya in the room here, who will also be keeping an eye on the chat with me. So for folks who are in the chat and have a question that they want to direct towards us, I'm going to put in Tanya Gleason's name. If you search for her in the participant list, you can actually message her directly. These are for the folks calling in on the phone or through the computer. For our time today, pardon me, we are going to, I guess, like housekeeping really fast, and I have a slide, so I'm jumping ahead here. Everyone on the webinar will remain muted, but I have built in time today to answer questions. So for folks who are here in person, whether it's in East Wenatchee or Omak, you should have index cards. Feel free to jot questions down as they come up. For folks who have questions, you can either message Tanya Gleason in the chat, or you can send the question to everyone in the chat, and we will actually be reviewing those later. So do ask questions, but just to keep it a little less chaotic, I'm going to keep everyone muted on the webinar. So that all said, why are we here today? What are we going to cover? Today we are going to talk about this brand new funding opportunity. There's plenty of history to come with it, but this is a brand new funding opportunity. The applications just launched, or just went live the first week of July. This is the first time we are offering this community initiatives funding. This is the first time that this entire process is going live. So we're really excited to get to be here learning alongside all of you as this goes live. We're going to talk about the good stuff, right? The application submission and review process. We're going to cover the scoring criteria, plus some tips and tricks. Spoiler alert, the person who wrote the application is the person talking to you. So hopefully I will be able to enlighten folks in terms of applications and what makes one strong and what we're looking for. Cool. All right. So I just said housekeeping stuff, but just to recap, everyone will remain muted on our webinar. I have built in time to answer questions. If you have a question or comment, use the chat feature of the webinar. Unless you're in person, use your index cards and get them to Tanya or Kelsey if you're in OMAC using an index card. Otherwise, send them on into the chat function. If you have more questions, if we don't get to your question today, or if you have a very specific question, feel free to contact me. My info is hopefully all over the application guidelines as well as the website, but that's my email up there. And what I'm going to do is, with all the questions I received today, I'm going to actually develop a frequently asked questions document, basically make a digest of all of these questions so that those answers can be made public for everybody. Because we're stronger when we learn together. And that will be available on the CHI Community Initiatives Funding, the webpage, no later than August 1st. So get your questions into me by Monday of next week, and then I will do my very best to get that digest up, hopefully before August 1st, but I'm giving myself the deadline to August 1st. All right. For those of you who have been to a North Central Accountable Community of Health meeting before, you know that we love acronyms. We love them. See if I can move that over here. Okay. We love our acronyms, and so these are, I'm not going to walk through them all. There won't be a quiz, there won't be a test or anything like that, but these are some of the acronyms I might throw out today, so I want to, so I want to make sure that you've had a chance to see them. All right, so let me take a sip of water. Keep chatting here. This is a unique funding opportunity that's been made possible through North Central Accountable Community of Health. This is not a traditional grants program. Rather, it's an opportunity for our community voice groups or our coalitions for health improvement to come together with community partners and to really get to decide how to best invest $450,000 into this region to improve health and wellness. I just saw a note in the chat. Can we record this? I'm actively recording this webinar, so everyone knows, and this webinar will be made available online as well. Good question. Thanks for the reminder. Yes, we are recording right now, so this will be up on the website. I don't want to pin myself down. I'm going to say sometime next week. Before the end of next week, it will be up on the website. Okay, so the funding, the fun stuff. It is made available through a statewide Medicaid transformation project. There is an initiative happening to transform our current healthcare delivery system, particularly for Apple Health clients who tend to be some of our more underserved and vulnerable communities across the state. Our Accountable Community of Health, the North Central Accountable Community of Health, is one of 9 ACHs who are tasked with transforming healthcare. So with that, we've been given funding to invest into innovative and collaborative approaches to bring together community partners to transform our system using the resources and the experts that we already have, which is all of you folks. If you want to learn more about Medicaid transformation, I'm happy to geek out on that with you later, as well as check us out online. There's a lot of information out there. But the long and short of it, the exciting thing is that through this, we have $450,000 that's been approved to be invested into local and regional level health and wellness initiatives across Chelan, Douglas, Grant, and Okanogan counties. Like I said, this is not a traditional grants program. It's not just that you submit an application and we, the funder, kick you out money and thank you so much, see you later. This is going to be managed through a community investment process. And that term might sound a little nebulous and vague, but don't you worry, by the end of this, you too will know what community investment process is. Our ultimate goals with this funding is to advance whole person health, which we'll cover, to address the social determinants of health, which I will also cover, and to increase community and clinical collaborations. So we understand that health, the things that affect our health, the health that you experience, a lot of it happens outside of the clinic, and we know that we need to rely on partners in the community and outside of the 4 walls of the clinic to have healthy communities. So a large goal with this funding opportunity is to really diversify and redefine who we think of when we think of the players that affect health and the players that build healthy communities. Additionally, we want this funding to catalyze perhaps new efforts or expand current ones. So whether that's an expansion of the folks you serve or where you are serving them, we really, like I said, we want to encourage really new and diverse partnerships. We want to impact underserved communities. And we really, I think above almost above all, in some ways, we really want this to be an opportunity for regional and shared learning. We haven't, like I said, this is a new process. We haven't done anything like this, and we aren't quite sure what kinds of projects that are going to come up and what kinds of things are going to be applied for, which is really exciting. But so because of that, though, we want to stay in touch with you. And we want to be able to learn, did this go well? What were your successes? What were your challenges? How can your community support this more? So there's going to be a really big emphasis on shared learning with this funding. This funding can be used for one-time investments, so things like procuring a resource, maybe you need a van for mobile services, or hosting an event, you want to bring in someone and do a big regional training, or it can also support ongoing programs and initiatives. All right, whole person health. So what is it? Why do we care about it? Our goal, North Central Accountable Community of Health's goal, is to transform healthcare. That's why we're here. How it's delivered, how much it costs people, how much it costs communities. We really, and above all, we really want to make sure that folks can access the services and resources that they need to be as healthy as possible. For those of you who are familiar with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's County Health Rankings, this is a group that looks at the different health factors that affect the population health of counties and states. They just released the 2019 or 2018 numbers, maybe, but there are 39 counties in Washington state, and our 4-county region ranks as follows. Chelan is 10th, Chelan County is 10th, healthiest. Douglas, 21st, Grant, 34th, and Okanagan, 36th. That's out of 39 counties. So we know that there's work to do, right? But we're really fortunate to have so many dedicated partners that are already doing this work. Those of you in the room, the 54 of you on the phone, those of you up in OMAC, we recognize at the ACH that we can't reach our goals that we have within our organization of building a healthier region without you and your organizations and the projects that you're going to bring forward through this process. All right, who are the Coalitions for Health Improvement? How do they have so much money? As I said, the North Central Accountable Community of Health is part of a statewide initiative. Ahead of the organization forming, the state had released, the long history is that the state had released state innovation model grants to basically help bring together stakeholders and partners in health to better understand what we needed, what were the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the good old SWOT analysis of each region, and how do we come together to improve healthcare. And so the Coalitions for Health Improvement actually predated North Central Accountable Community of Health. They are a critical piece of our work. They serve as our community voice. Our work is convening and facilitating stakeholders and helping empower folks to do work that they're already doing, but maybe to make it a little bit better. So we don't usually interface with clients. We don't work with communities directly. We rely on members within our Coalitions for Health Improvement to really help us keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in each community, as well as to help us tailor approaches that work for each community. No one size fits all, even within our 4 counties, right? The needs and the opportunities are very different. Even across counties, right? Think about East Wenatchee versus Bridgeport in Douglas County. So, there are 3 coalitions. Chelan and Douglas get to share. We have one in Grant County as well as in Okanagan County. They have a voting seat on our board. The ACH actually provides operational, we formally contract with local health jurisdictions to provide operational support, funding, and staff for each of the coalitions. In 2018, the $450,000, that funding was approved by our governing board, but we had to build a community investment process for it. the last 6 months, I have had the privilege of working with a group of folks who represent the 3 Coalitions for Health Improvement to actually design this process from the ground up. It's all very new. This process that's been designed is designed for interaction with the coalitions. So your applications, your letters of intent will be reviewed by coalition members. Your final funding any final funding determinations will be made by committees made up of coalition members. If your application is selected for funding, you will be required to share updates with the coalitions. We encourage, through this process and beyond, we really do encourage all applicants to join their local coalition and to take an active role in this community investment process. You can have the opportunity to be part of the application review process. You don't get to review your own application, but you do get to you could be involved in having a say in how we expend and invest this $450,000 this round. All right, so I jumped ahead before I started talking, but we're in the good stuff now. So what kind of money is out there, right? What are we looking at? We have broken project awards into tiers. There are different tiers or different requirements for each tier that are outlined in the project application. Like I said, we don't know what kind of projects are going to be drummed up through this process, and so we wanted to keep it as flexible as possible. We may, in future years, if we are given the opportunity to invest more funding this way, we may restructure. If we get a whole landslide of small versus very large, we might restructure what kinds of projects we want to accept in the future. But for this round, we weren't quite sure what was going to come our way, so we wanted to keep this as broad as possible. Additionally, no one size fits all, right? You might not need $150,000. That sounds silly as I'm saying that. Who doesn't need $150,000? But you might need something very small and very discreet versus a very large scale project. So. All right, what are the project focus areas? These were actually selected through the Coalitions for Health Improvement across our 3 CHIs. They have their own focus areas that each county or coalition is working on, whether that be through to the 2018 or whether that's a focus area for 2019. So we decided to mirror the focus areas of the CHIs with the project focus areas for this funding. Do note though that taking a peek at it, 1, it's pretty broad. It's a pretty wide network casting. 2, that we will consider other focus areas, but your application must clearly articulate justification for the focus area. Right? We want to know why it's needed, what your approach is, and how that's going to improve health. Who can apply? This was a really exciting part of the process for me to build because we more or less landed on everybody. Again, we want to redefine who we think of when we think of kind of the traditional players in health and who takes a role in building a healthier community. So we really wanted this to go as wide as we could, and we really want to see some unconventional partnerships come out of this. Is what we're hoping. There's a little note at the bottom. So for those of you who are familiar with our Central Accountable Community of Health's work, we do have other work groups, and those work groups, many of those folks are getting funding through for other Medicaid transformation project work. We didn't want to make them ineligible to apply for funding, but we do require that if you are currently getting funding from the Accountable Community of Health to do whole person care collaborative work, which is clinical healthcare transformation work and process improvement work, transitional care diversion interventions work, which is mainly our hospital EMS partners, or if you are our Pathways Hub lead agency, which is one agency actually based here in Chelan County, that you have a minimum of 1 non-funded partner. All right. We want to diversify who this funding goes to. So If you are currently receiving funding for us to do WPCC, TCDI, or you are the Pathways Hub lead agency, we require you to have one non-funded partner organization on your application, or tribal entity. The tribe that is in our region is the Caldwell Confederated Tribes. Additionally, if you are a funded partner and you are asking, you are already funded through other work and you're asking us for funding through this, the community initiatives, this funding is not to be used to support or fund other Medicaid transformation project work. All right, I wanted to take a moment just to chat quickly about lead applicants versus partners. We encourage partnerships with this funding. It's actually one of our required priority elements, which we'll get to shortly. But just really quick, if you are the lead applicant, you're the one who submits the application, you're responsible for administering funds and delivering reporting requirements. The little asterisk, lead applicants can designate a fiscal sponsor as needed. So for folks who are coalitions, community groups who may or may not have their own financial, like you're not a 501c3 or have your own, I don't know, just trying to think of government forms out there, but that you can designate a fiscal sponsor. So this would be an organization that would actually manage and administer the funds for you, but you would still be the lead applicant, so you would still be responsible for delivering the reporting requirement. Partner organizations play an active and defined role in project implementation. If you write down a partner on your application, they must provide a letter of support certifying their role in the project application. And again, I want to emphasize active and defined role. This isn't just my organization commends your organization for applying. It is that we want folks to, if you're listing a partner, that they are an active player in your project. I also want to show quickly a resource that I cannot take credit for. This actually came as a suggestion from a local organization here in town who contacted me when this funding opportunity went live, and they said, you know, we really want to partner with folks, but we're not sure we have a project that can stand alone on its own, but we'd like to look into how we might flesh something out with somebody. How could we do that? And I said, oh great, so we need a tender for our funding opportunity. I did not develop a dating app for this, but what we have done is created a Google Drive document. So I can hopefully, there we go. All right, I'm gonna pull something up online. All right, can someone chime in? Can you see the website? Okay, yes, okay, I got a yes, thank you. Perfect. All right, so the prospective partner resource is found, if you get on our website, scrolling a lot here, go down to who can apply for this funding. We have made a prospective partner roster. This is a Google document. I am very open to suggestions about how to make this better in the future. Full disclosure, we made it yesterday. The goal of this document is really to kind of be a bit of a dating app, though, for partner and project matchmaking. So the thought is that you are either interested in, there's lots of scenarios that probably didn't make it to the sheet, but you have a project or idea or an initiative, but you want to potentially find other organizations to partner with, or your organization, group, et cetera, wants to partner on someone else's project or idea or initiative. You can enter your organization, contact info if you're interested in being a lead applicant or a partner, counties that your group or agency serves, as well as a brief description of a project idea and or services offered. So just enough, this is not the full, multi-paragraph bio, but just enough that if someone were interested in learning more about you, that they could get a hold of you so that you could schedule that conversation. This document will not be managed by the ACH. I've made it, and it is yours to go forth with. So if you want to use this, check back with it and see if there have been folks that are using it, and if you want to contact folks. So it's a resource, but it's not one that the ACH is going to actively manage, unless of course the link breaks or something. Then I'd like to know about that so I can get it back up. But this is for you to take initiative and go out there, and if you want to try and find potential partners or a project, it's there, it's a resource, and hopefully it's a helpful one. All right, we're back. All right. Can I get a yes that we're back on slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so that's lead applicants versus partners. Thank you for all the resounding yeses. I did say a quick question. Do organizations have to have a partner organization for this grant? No, but is the answer to that for now, and we will get there possibly in my next slide. Yes, we're getting there. Okay. So I said earlier we have tiered the projects by award size, but there are different requirements associated with different size project awards. What we have developed and what makes this funding opportunity unique is we have a mix and match priority elements requirement depending on the project size. What that means is depending on how much funding you're requesting, whether or not it's a small, medium, large, or very large project, you will have a required number of priority elements. Unless you are going for a very large where we require you to have all three, what those priority elements are at your discretion. But you must be able to demonstrate your plan to incorporate and meet these priority elements for your selected priority element in the project application. I will unpack this in another slide, and I will teaser, and we'll talk about it very briefly, is that any priority elements that you demonstrate beyond the required amount, so let's say you are a medium project and you are actually able to demonstrate 2 priority elements, some of that may be actually eligible for bonus points when the applications are scored. And the 3 priority elements, again, it's a mix and match. So you get to pick them, unless you're going for a very large project, and then you got to show them all. But you get to pick which ones they are. And so it could be county served, partnering organizations, or project focus areas. I can share from back there, or you can be in the middle. Yeah. It's like Duck Duck Goose with you're in the mush pot, right? Yeah. Extra cookies for you. All right, county served. So with our priority elements, there's a couple things to note. One is that if you go for the county served priority element, what that means to us is that at least 15% of the target populations that you serve that will be impacted as outlined in your project application must reside in different counties. So if you have a program that runs in Okanagan and Chelan counties, and you have something operating in Chelan part of the time and something operating in Pateros part of the time, at least 15% of the target population impacted by this program must be in the other county. So if it's 85% in Chelan and 15% in Okanagan County, that's okay. But for us to meet the county served priority element requirement, at least 15% of your target population must be in a different county. And it says reside in different county. It's not like we're not going to follow up like where do you live, but that the services and the folks who are getting impacted must be in different counties. Additionally, sorry to say for our folks here in the Wenatchee Valley, a project that is only operating in Wenatchee and East Wenatchee is not considered to be multi-county. We really want to push the reach beyond kind of the Wenatchee Valley. So if you are going for a county served priority element, if it's Wenatchee and Bridgeport, that's great. If it's Leavenworth and Rock Island, I'm just throwing towns out here, that's great. But if it just operates in Wenatchee and East Wenatchee, it's not considered a multi-county project. For partnering organizations, if you select the partnering organization priority element, your project must include a committed partner that represents a different sector than the applicant organization. So if you are going for a project and you want to use partnering organizations, your partner, to qualify for the priority element, to meet the requirements of the priority element, must represent a different sector. So healthcare and education, law enforcement and education, the sky's the limit, but it must be a different sector. And on the project application, there's a box that says sectors represented, so there's a good sample there of different sectors out there. And then thirdly, if you go for the project focus area as your priority element, your project must include approaches to address at least 2 of the project focus areas identified. So we have, a couple of slides back, we showed you the box with all the different project focus areas. It must be at least 2 of those. More the better, they count for bonus points, we'll get to that, but at least 2. So that is to satisfy our priority elements requirement. All right, get into the good stuff here, the application, submission, and review process. So the big old flow chart, this is on the website as well as in the project's application or project submission guidelines, so it's out there. But really, the goal of this process and the way that this works is really to create opportunities for applicant engagement with our coalitions for health improvement. These review steps that are built into the process are designed to strengthen projects and applications, to provide connection and kind of bi-directional communication with the communities your project impacts, and again, to really foster an environment for shared learning, as well as to celebrate your successes and support your growth. So for small projects, anything $25,000 or less, it's a little bit shorter of a process. You'll do your required letter of intent, you submit your application, it moves on to review and scoring. Top scoring applications are advanced to the award committee for final review, and then you get to give some money out there. The larger, so anything larger than $25,000, so $25,001 or more, you have a little bit of a different process. The steps are all the same, required letter of intent, application, et cetera, but your letter of intent, when you submit it, will actually go to, when you submit your letter of intent through SurveyMonkey, which is the platform that we're submitting them on, you will select which of the 3 coalitions you'd like to review your letter of intent. It makes sense to have your letter of intent go to the coalition where your project impacts is going to be happening. So if you have a project running in Grant County, it makes sense to have your application, your letter of intent, go to the Grant County Coalition. You get to pick your top choice though, and I will do my best, capacity dependent, to get them to those coalitions. The letters of intent though will actually be released to the Coalitions for Health Improvement along with feedback forms. And all of the coalition members will get to look at your letter of intent and actually provide feedback. What we then will do is actually consolidate those comments into one set of recommendations. We won't submit you to like 40 different sets of comments that may be contradictory. You'll get one set of recommendations from the Coalition for for Health Improvement application team, and that is intended to help strengthen your project before you submit your project application. So that's one of the touch points with the Coalitions for Health Improvement. Following the electronic feedback session, so you'll get your feedback, your comments. You can incorporate it into your application. Side note, it's not required to incorporate the feedback that you receive through this process. It's just it's recommended, but it's not required, and your application will not be dinged or scored lower because you didn't incorporate the feedback from the coalitions. But there will then be an optional webinar feedback session where we will do kind of some broad application strengthening tips and tricks. My colleague in the room here, Tanya Gleason, is actually our capacity development and grants manager, and she has a long history of working with grants and helping folks zhuzh up their applications and make them stronger. So we're really excited to have her as a resource through that. This is a competitive process, but we really want everyone to win. So we're trying to offer as many opportunities for support and engagement with the coalitions as we can. Then applications are due, review and scoring, board committee, down to money. Someone says, my project impacts all 3 CHIs. How should I address the letter? That is a great question. I would say in the SurveyMonkey, pick a CHI. I believe I have it as radio button, so you can only pick one. But I will be receiving all the letters of intent. So if you have a very large project or a project that is going to impact all 3 CHIs, I will likely send that to all of those coalitions. It depends. It's going to be dependent on volume. Again, we don't know who's out there and how many applications we're going to get. If I get 500 applications, I'm probably not going to send them to every single coalition. But I will do my best to make sure that the coalitions and the communities that are going to feel the impact of your projects get to have that opportunity to engage with the letter of intent. All right, I wanted to talk, so I gave you this whole spiel about the review process. What makes this unique from other grants programs and other funding bodies is that we have a couple different touch points and a couple different review bodies that will be part of the project application review process. You are invited to join coalitions and to be part of this process and to actually get to sit on these review bodies. So there's going to be a local CHI application team per each coalition. They're the ones who will be managing the reviewing of your LOIs, providing feedback. They will also review and score applications. There will be a regional review group that works exclusively with reviewing and scoring project applications, and then there will be an award committee who will look at the top scoring applications and actually be the ones who are making final funding recommendations to our governing board using a portfolio approach. We had, when we were thinking about how do we organize this full pot of $450,000, do we give each, $150 to each region, each CHI, what do we do? We decided to go with a global approach this time. And so what we're going to do is top scoring applications will be reviewed, and essentially we will award as many as we can up to $450,000 with the top scoring. Each application is going to have a minimum of 4 reviews. Then those scores will be combined and averaged, and then those top scoring ones will go on to the award committee. PSA, reviewers needed. You have a chance to be part of this community investment process. It is not very often that you get to apply for funding and then get to also help decide where the funding goes. We are looking for folks to join both the CHI application teams and the regional review groups. I will be sending information out through the CHI mailing lists. If you get emails from either Kelsey Gust or Lena Mitchell, they are the folks who manage the coalition mailing list. If you don't get emails from them and you would like to, please shoot me an email, or at the very end of this, I actually have a slide with everyone's email addresses, so you can reach out to them directly as well. But you can be both an applicant and a reviewer. As I said earlier, reviewers will not get to score your own application, so you don't get to be there writing your own check, but you can be part of the review process. I'm putting this out there because this is our first time running this funding cycle, and if it is successful and it demonstrates increased engagement with the community, there may be more funding that's available in the future. However, because of the design that has so many different touch points and opportunities to interact with the coalitions and with the community and have so many different reviewers, the success of this process is largely going to be guided by the coalitions, both in how many partners apply and how easily we can find volunteer reviewers to facilitate this process. So in short, this is a really exciting opportunity, and if we want to have it again in the future, it's only going to be as successful as we make it. I wanted to touch super briefly on the LOI application process. You will submit your letters of intent to me using SurveyMonkey. For small projects, we're gonna just do a quick pass-fail eligibility check, and then you will hear from me if whether or not you pass or fail, and whether or not you're invited to submit an application, and then we'll go into the application submission and review process for the other chart that you saw. Medium and large, medium through very large, rather. Same thing, pass-fail eligibility check. Go to that electronic feedback process. You receive your consolidated recommendations from the CHI, invited to submit an application, review, submission and review. Long answer short is that you will hear from me one way or another with your letter of intent. I got another question. How do you ensure that a reviewer who is also an applicant will not be able to make decisions that present a conflict of interest? That is a great question. We have developed a conflict of interest policy that all reviewers will have to sign. I don't want to go too down deep that rabbit hole, but we have built in as many protections as we can to make sure that folks are not in a position to score their own applications or make decisions about funding allocations to their applications or to any applications with whom they may have a conflict of interest. If your partner, your spouse, works for an organization who submitted an application for $150K, I'm not sure that you are the right person in the room to make decisions about whether or not they get funded. So we do have a conflict of interest policy, and more information will come with all of that. That is a good question. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of water, and we'll talk about application scoring. So with the project application submission guidelines, let's see if I can pull this up and keep talking here. Apparently I can't click and talk at the same time, so give me just a second. All right, should be downloading. There we go. Okay, so I guess before I pull that up, there are 100 points. Your application can be scored up to 100 points, plus some bonus points. We'll talk about those. In narrative responses, these are the things to know, what we are looking for. We did not put a maximum word or character amount because we want you to make your best judgment as to how to tell us what you need to tell us, but don't tell us too much. We're looking for things that are clear, strong, concise, not redundant. For those of you who have written lots of grants, those of us grant writers tend to have a bad habit where we like copy and paste from old grant applications, then all of a sudden you put the same, like, this is our mission and this is who we impact like 3 times in the application. We're looking for that. We don't want that in there, okay? So not redundant, and provides content for all of the selected project information checkboxes. So the application is broken into 2 sections, if you will. One is a bunch of checkboxes. This project is new. This project affects X, Y, and Z counties. This project engages this many sectors. This project has this many partners. For every box that you check, that you need to be able to talk about it in the narrative responses. We're looking for that. The reviewers have been instructed to go back and actually look at whether or not that information is reflected in your narrative responses. All right, I'm gonna scroll and hopefully not cause any medical conditions. Okay. All right, so in the community initiatives project application procedures, there is in the very back, towards the back, there is the scoring criteria. This is all available online. I'm not just throwing this at you. And this is what will be used. So you have this in your resources. I'm not going to walk through it line by line, but you have this, so use this. This is a tool for you to use when you're filling out your application. So the main scoring on the narrative section, 10 points, or sorry, 90 points. I can't math today. 90 points available. All right, and the reviewers will score using this scale, 4 through exceptional. They'll times it by the weight, and that will be the total score. And this column shows you how many points are available. So again, this is a tool for you to use. A tool we're going to use to score your applications, but it's a tool for you to use to help strengthen your application as well. So this is there. The final piece I want to show you is, so you have 90 points in the narrative responses. The other thing, though, is there's an overall reviewer impression. And what we're looking for here is, what's the application's overall strength? Do you think the project or initiative will be successful in achieving its goals if selected for funding? Help us think that, right? Like, convince us of that. That's what we're looking for there. Are there any qualities, either benefits or flaws in the project application that stood out to you? Are the applicant's answers concise, clear, and responsive to the questions asked? Is there a discrepancy between the strength of the project versus the application? Perhaps the project is strong, but the application is weak, or vice versa. So reviewers actually will have the opportunity to assign 10 points based on overall impressions. Well, what I want to hone in on here, though, is, are the applicant's answers concise, clear, and responsive to the questions asked? All right, back on slides. And someone says, where's the project information checklist located? That is part of the project application, which I was not going to show today, but it's online. So that's the first section of the project application. There we go. Okay, bonus point. I'm showing you this, but do not get hunkered down with this. This is small beans compared to the meat of the application. What we really care about is, what you should care about as an applicant is maximizing those 90 points plus having a strong enough application to win over those 10 overall points. So the 90 points in the scoring criteria is what you should be worried about. What we would rather see really solid main content and a clear approach that of projects that meet the minimum requirements, as opposed to like really large disheveled plans that are shooting for 20 bonus points. I am likely going to get some questions about this. These slides will be available, as well as this webinar. Just know that basically it's back to any priority element that you meet beyond the required amount and is demonstrated in your narrative responses is eligible for bonus points. So if you are going for the county served requirement and your project actually serves all 4 counties, that's 2 bonus points right there. That you can, serves all 4 counties, that you can demonstrate the impact per population as well as so that's 2 extra bonus points right there. If you were to have a really ambitious project that meets all 12 of our project focus areas in that box of project focus areas, there's 10 to 11 points on the table. But you don't get the point for checking the box, you get the point for checking the box and demonstrating that in your narrative response. Timelines. This is a lot of information. It's all available online. It's also in the project guidelines. The next deadline to note, August 16th. Why did my arrow move so far down? Don't look at this arrow. It should be up here. Sorry about that, people. August 16th is when our letters of intent are the deadline. And that, to find where to submit letters of intent on the website, there's a button that says download letters of intent submission guidelines. It's a 2-page PDF, and the direct link to submit it is right there. So information is all available on the website.
This is on the CHI website.
Yes, and that's ncach.org/CHI-funding. All right. So now we are moving into question and answer. This will be my first time trying to coordinate question and answer from a room full of wonderful people, as well as a room full of people in OMAC, as well as 57 people who are calling in from across the region, which is so exciting. So Tanya and I are going to keep an eye on chat. What we'd like to do is to answer as many questions as possible during the webinar. I will be taking all questions that are entered into Zoom or via index cards, and we're going to develop a Q&A digest sheet. So anything we don't get to today, I'll be able to put up online later. And if you have like a very specific, I have this project or my organization does this, is this a good fit? Let's have those conversations outside of this space right now. So I might be opening some floodgates. Are there questions? Feel free to chime in using chat. Tanya's going to keep it. If you send it to everyone, then Tanya can see it, or send it directly to Tanya. I can see it, and if anyone in the room has questions, we can do it that way too. Someone says, an earlier slide mentioned invitation to submit full proposal for medium through extra large projects. This is not the timeline. That is correct. I would say at this point, if you submit a letter of intent, feel free to start working on your application. We will be in we'll do the pass-fail eligibility check, but the time the time between submitting your letter of intent and application, there's about 2 months, I believe. So you can start working and crafting on that, and we will do our best to get back to you with that pass-fail eligibility at the very least. Yes. Cool. Any other questions?
I have a couple in person here. Do you have to be a CHI member to apply?
No. I don't know. Can vote. I moved away. I don't know where the microphone is. I'm going to come back over here so folks can hear me. Do you have to be a CHI member to apply? No, you do not. But if you are, your application is selected for funding, we highly recommend that you do join the CHI. And even if not, we would love to have as many folks as possible be part of our Coalition for Home Improvement. Do small grant applications get feedback on the letter of intent if we want to help prepare the application? So for this round, again, mostly out of a space of uncertainty because we don't know how many applications we're going to get, we have opted to not do that for small letter of intent. However, if you want to have some one-on-one help, there's an opportunity for you to engage with Tanya or with me, and we're happy to talk through your letter of intent as we have time to do it. So my hope would be in future years of funding that we do get to offer this feedback process on all sizes of applications, but for this round we've decided not to do it for small. Additionally, adding that feedback process takes some time, and we wanted to be able to get for the smaller projects funding out a little bit earlier. What is time commitment of being a reviewer? Can it be done remotely? The time commitment, we're recording the webinar, so I don't want to say something and then prove myself wrong later. What I would estimate though is we're asking folks to probably review maybe, depends on how many applications and how many reviewers you get, but let's say that we're looking at maybe 6 to 8 applications per person per review cycle, and it probably takes about depends on how fast of a reviewer you are, but maybe 1.5 hours per application. And it can be done remotely. I will send it all to you via email. It can all be done remotely. Let's see. LOI template example. This is like a stream of consciousness question. Where is this resource? So on the, I think what is being asked is, where are the letter of intent submission guidelines? They are found on the website, which I believe I can pull. Nope, wrong one. I'm gonna pull up our website and I can show it to you right now. All right, what if my project has the capacity to serve people in more than one county, but we don't end up meeting with 15% outside of one county? Deb, I'm gonna get back to you on that question. I wanna be able to mull it over a little bit. But what we were really hoping for in developing the 15% is that what we didn't want, was someone to say, yeah, my project serves 3 counties and you're serving like 99% of everyone in one county and you're serving literally one person in the other 2 counties. That's what we're trying to get away from. So that's a really good question, Deb, and that will be something that will make it to my digest. Okay, back to letter of intent submission guidelines. If you're on the website, we have applications now open. You can download our project application submission guidelines, and you can also download our application and the letter of intent. So the letter of intent information is this sheet right here. It has all of the guidelines for your letter of intent. Kind of gently scroll. And then the link to submit it is SurveyMonkey. And I know that some folks, in the past we've used Google Forms for things, and some folks have like firewalls and things that don't allow them to access Google Drive. If you have the same problem with SurveyMonkey, just reach out to me and we'll get it figured out. Even if that means you're coming into my office and you're using my work laptop to get your LOI submitted, we'll make it happen. Can one organization submit more than one project application or letter of intent for 2 completely different projects, for example? Man, these are good ones. I think we've landed on yes, that we can. Will your one organization, yes, you can. Will your one organization be selected for funding for both of those projects is a different question. But yes, you can. And the reason why we have decided that is because there are organizations that have multiple locations in multiple counties. One of our partners, for example, Confluence Health, right? They operate all kinds of different things in different counties, and we didn't want to bar those types of organizations from being able, who have multiple locations in multiple counties, to be able to submit applications. Good question. Where is the spreadsheet located that will allow us to look for partners? Just came in. It is on, yeah, we have a chorus of voices in here. It's on the website. It is on CHI funding, who can apply for this funding, and prospective partner roster right there. Fantastic. Any other questions? All right, it seems like we have a lull in questions, which makes me believe that I've either done a really, really, really good job of giving you all this information, or there's a lot to digest, right? Someone says, may I assume if I'm on the sign-in sheet, I will receive all the links mentioned. We'll send out the slides to everyone who signed in. They'll also be made available online, so no worries if you couldn't get signed in. And all of the links will be linked in the web, in the slides, as well as throughout the website. Hopefully, the website there's a lot of content on our website, but the hope is that it really is kind of a one-stop shop. So if you aren't finding something, feel free to reach out to me. And someone says, can you repeat where you submit? Oh, my screen died. Submit interest in being a reviewer. You are ahead of me. I need to make a sign-in sheet for that. I did not have a chance to get to it today. What I will do though is when I send out the slides and everything to all of the emails, that will be ready to go, and there will be another sign-in sheet. And yes, we would love as many folks as possible who are interested in not only applying but reviewing to join us and help make this process as successful as possible. Fantastic.
Thank you, you did a great job.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Oh, we got another one. After submitting letter of intent, does the response indicate what could be strengthened with the application? Pass-fail scoring is with the intent for the final application. Yes. So for letters of intent, the small projects will get a pass-fail eligibility check. If we see, as we are reviewing, if there's an opportunity for us to share a little feedback, we will. The pass-fail scoring is for letters of intent. We're asking everyone to go through LOIs before project applications so that we've already gone through that jump. So the feedback in terms of what can be strengthened with the application, that happens during the letters of intent for anything that is larger than $25,000. So medium, large, and very large projects. Okay, questions are kind of trickling down. I'm gonna keep Zoom up so folks can keep asking questions or keep typing in questions. And what we're gonna do at this point is Tanya has been working to copy and paste them all out of Zoom onto a document so we have them all. So I will keep Zoom open so you can keep chiming in with questions. But I believe at this point, I think we're gonna end right as my voice gives out. My voice is out, so it's over. No, I think we're gonna end a little bit early. Thank you.
One more question in the chat.
One more question in the chat. Is there a list of what is allowed or not allowed in the money request? On the website, there is some language about that, as well as the project applications submission guidelines. There is some language about what we're looking for, what funding can be for, what it can't be used for. It kind of reads like a Dr. Seuss book, and I don't have it memorized, but it is on the project submission guidelines. If your question is not answered by looking at those guidelines, though, do feel free to reach out. Cool. All right, I'm going to, I guess, adjourn our room here, but we'll keep Zoom up, keep jumping in, chiming in with information, and we will grab all of these questions out of Zoom, and we will make our question answer digest sheet. So thank you so much, everybody.
Yay.